As I listen to those answers, I'm comparing them to what I see for myself in front of me. Does the person's body language match what they're actually saying? The reason we start with attitude is because it's a powerful trigger for all the things that come after. One of the most famous examples that prove this concept is the quest to run a mile in under 4 minutes. For most of human history, the idea that a person can run a mile in less than 4 minutes was seen as outlandish fantasy. In the 1800s, amateur athletes were running a mile in about 5 minutes, and it wasn't until the 1940s that runners even began to approach what had previously seemed to be unattainable. Gunder Hägg and Arne Andersson of Sweden traded the record back and forth throughout the 1940s, but nobody seemed to be able to crack the magic time. By the 1950s, Roger Bannister was a relatively unremarkable English track athlete who failed to earn a medal in the 1952 Olympics. Wavering over whether or not to quit the sport, he decided to dedicate himself to one great push to break the miraculous 4-minute mark before he moved on to medical school. In 1954, at a meet at Oxford University, Bannister ran the mile in 3:59, finally breaking the 4-minute mark and erasing Hägg's 9-year-old world record of 4:01. Once Bannister showed the world that a sub-4-minute time was possible, other athletes approached their races with the attitude that they, too, could do it, not that it was something unattainable. Bannister's record-shattering time only lasted 46 days, before Australian John Landy registered a time of 3:58. By the 1970s, runners were routinely recording times below 3:50, and the current record is 3:43 by Hisham El Garouj of Morocco. The golfer's mind works in the same ways. My brother came up through the ranks with Rich Beem, who would go on to win the Kemper Open as a rookie on the PGA Tour in 1999, and most famously, the 2002 PGA Championship. Rich, my brother, and I were hanging out one night early in a tournament week when Rich told my brother he had what it took to win on tour. "If I did, you can too," he said. "It's like walking through a door." As simple as that sounds, Rich was right. The players who break through and win a major for the first time, or a first PGA Tour event, or even just break a scoring goal at the amateur level, aren't any different physically than they were the week before they won. They just transition to seeing the task as an opportunity, not something daunting or scary. I don't like to make sweeping statements when it comes to neuroscience, but one of the most fascinating things about this business is the fact that the mental barriers and issues of the golfers I meet as clients transcend the player's level of achievement. Sure, the guy who is trying to break into the top 20 in the world has some different details to discuss than the person trying to break 100 for the first time, but the fundamental anxieties and struggles we have as players are universal. They're human. Whether you're a tour player or a 20 handicapper, you have what can be called a personal style, both in terms of how you think and how you swing. One of the most common crises I see is when a player gets lost or separated from his or her personal style. In simple terms, you're a lot less effective when you're trying to impersonate somebody else. Case study. Eddie had a very solid career as a tour player for many years, but he never felt like he reached his true potential. He was a multiple-season All-America as a college player, and had beaten soundly many of the players who would go on to become top 20 professionals. In his third year on tour, Eddie played against one of the top 2 or 3 players in the world head-to-head down the stretch, and made a big mistake on the last hole, to lose the tournament by a shot. He won an event in the next couple of years, but he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that he wasn't as fundamentally sound as the top players in the world, and that he wouldn't get to that level unless he made some big changes. That began a process where he bounced from